for a lot of us, we had very similar upbringings in terms of what our parents allowed and didn't allow, and level of strictness and level of exposure to certain things. And like we've even talked about like your ability to watch certain things on TV or whatever. And so like there were varying levels of that. But in terms of just the way that they expressed themselves, they were always a lot more vocal. And I think at least growing up from a cultural perspective, I think there really is this idea that a good child is a quiet child.
Hey family, welcome to another episode of Callaloo and Collard Greens. And this week we are talking about conflict, communication, and cultural clashes. What fuels them? What fixes them? It's a topic that Brandon and I often talk about. So let's dig right into it. And I'm actually going to start with you, Brandon, because I feel like you have very strong opinions about how I communicate as a West Indian woman. Um, so tell me a little bit more about your thoughts, because I'm gonna let you go first because I got thoughts.
Did y'all hear the sigh? Did y'all feel the sigh?
The room just got heavy.
The room just got.
Okay, well, first, I love my wife. Let's start off with that.
Of course, we know.
All right. Two, to all of y'all,
Oh,
why do you yell when you're speaking
He said,
and
"All
then
of y'all."
say that you're talking
Not
passionately?
y'all.
You are yelling. You are not speaking. Honey, you're not speaking when you're talking passionately. That is called yelling.
First of all, that's just how, like, I don't know if you have this experience, Omar. That's just how we talk.
Can I tell y'all a quick story?
Please go.
Because when I was in middle school,
Oh,
I
goodness.
remember
Okay. What?
my mom was picking me up.
Oh,
And she said to
gather
me,
yourself, brother.
So,
I'm
yeah.
not saying this
Okay.
right
Oh, you need a tissue?
because
Okay.
my mom was picking me up. And my mom said, you know, I have to go to this store. And your dad want me to do this. And wow, wow, wow. And I just said, I was looking at the visor and she didn't look at her fix her makeup. I said, Mom, I said, you're loud. And she said, oh, sorry.
Because it's natural. Like, we just be talking. Like, we're not.
But you ever heard the phrase, it's not what you say, it's how you say it? So your how is kind of wild.
I mean, but I just be talking. And it's funny because we have a running joke. For any Lady Gaga fans out there, sometimes when we communicate with each other, and you know, like I because now that I'm aware, because Brandon's like, oh, like bring it down, and I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna try not to rah. Because that seems to be the only way we communicate, or like I have to preface that I'm not being loud.
That's not a we thing.
Well, Brandon is very tempered, and that's what makes us, I think, work. He's very like, oh, eat, pray, love, and I'm more like, but I guess I mean, when did you first realize that was an issue, though? Because had you seen that within other West Indian interactions?
No, because
so you're saying it's me.
Look, I'm not saying nothing to be saying anything. All I'm saying though is that once I guess the representative, came, because when you first date somebody, you're meeting a representative.
Who's the representative?
Then, it's Alicia. Hello, I'm such a sweet. I'm so sweet. Oh my God. Can I make you a plate? Can I make you a plate?
I represent myself.
And but then once we really got to know one another, and then I met I'm not yelling. I'm at the speaking passionately.
But I do be speaking passionately because whatever I say, it's important, and I want to make sure that it's felt and heard and received.
I hear you at a level 2. That the same. Just keep that at level 2.
I think to be fair, though, when you think about it, like even if we take this from like a friendship perspective, right? Like the nature of the types of conversations that you're having at different stages of your romantic relationships are very different than the nature of the conversations that you are gonna have with friends. And so in my experience building a friendship with Alicia, like she still speaks passionately, but the topics that we're talking about and the way that we're having the dialogue, it's more in the form of a celebration, because even when we are complaining or we're frustrated or we're talking about a difficult situation, it's I'm hyping her up. I'm like,
Right,
yeah, like I
right.
got your back on this and I
She
agree
get it.
with you and I get it.
Did
And
it.
we're gonna ride or die with it, right? So
Thank you.
I think it's just a little bit different, because when you think about it from like a romantic relationship perspective, you're probably your emotional investment and the type of emotional investment
That
is
is
going to
true.
be a little bit different.
That
Like it's
is
just going to
true.
look a little
And I
different.
and I will say that I do think in like I feel like Caribbeans can be very expressive, right? Like
Mhm.
it's not even just in what we say, it's the body language, it's the action, it's the picking up the pan, it's
It's
the
how we paint our houses. You ever been in a Jamaican person house? You see the outside and the inside and the amount of colors.
Very colorful, very
Very,
expressive.
very bright.
surprisingly, our house was not that colorful. Our house
Mm.
was a pretty, I will add that in there, but lots of nice artwork. I will add that. Maybe that was the color part, but I will say,
I
yes.
saw a lime greenhouse in Jamaica and I was like, why?
Well, oh, fair.
But also,
That's valid.
why not?
That's true too.
Mm,
I mean, but
see?
I love that we express ourselves as a people. But I mean, continue. But to your point,
No, I was just saying that, I think being in that environment too, like you just kind of feel like you have to speak with your body, you know what I mean? And I remember early on with Aaliyah, when we would have arguments and stuff and like disagreements, and then Aaliyah just be sitting there like, hey, I could, look, the mic over here resituating to me, but yeah, Aaliyah just be sitting over here like, and I'm just there like, what? So you don't feel nothing? Like you ain't got nothing to say
right?
to me? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like you not as what's going on, right?
Yeah.
But you see, I used to find little ways to get under Leah's skin, because I was like, oh,
You
ain't
want a
saying nothing.
reaction.
You ain't saying nothing because you ain't got nothing to say, right? And her she
Wait, I
like
thought I was the
10
only
down,
one.
10
I
toes.
thought I was the only one that be provoking. Like, so you're not gonna say nothing? Well, I'm gonna make you say something.
And then,
I-
and how's that
Goodness.
working out for you?
It doesn't. But
Oh,
yeah,
okay, all right.
yeah,
Thank
it
you.
usually doesn't.
Yeah.
But I think it is definitely an adjustment, just in terms of like I remember growing up with all Caribbean friends, and of course, like for a lot of us, we had very similar upbringings in terms of what our parents allowed and didn't allow, and
Mm.
level of strictness and level of exposure to certain things. And like we've even talked about like your ability to watch certain things on TV or whatever.
Yeah.
And so like there were varying levels of that. But in terms of just the way that they expressed themselves, they were always a lot more vocal.
Mm.
And I think, at least growing up from a cultural perspective, I think there really is this idea that a good child is a quiet child. Like, and
Not
it's
true.
and that's like kind of the experience, I think. Even when I see relatives, and I was just at the beauty salon, and there was a couple of kids, and they're like, oh, this child never gives any problems, just in there quiet, you don't even know a kid
Mhm.
is in here.
That's not a
And
good
that's
sign.
but that's culturally, that's
Mhm.
that's the
Be
world
seen
I
and
grew
not
up in, and that's the world that Brandon grew up in too, right? Of
Yeah.
like kids should be seen and not heard.
Children should be seen and not heard. Like, what? Like, and that
But
induced a whole set of issues.
I
for
want
me
to
as
go.
an
I
adult.
just want to go back to yelling versus speaking passionately again, because in Southern African American culture too, there's loud families too.
Yes,
But why? And I'm asking a question to my wife and
because that's
my
just how
brother.
we are.
Why is the yelling or the passionate speaking like it's like with a piercing? It's sharp.
I can tell
it
you what I
cuts.
feel
It
when
cuts.
I
Mhm.
speak passionately, because I
Speak it.
don't believe I'm yelling. I really don't. I just believe that I'm feeling what I'm feeling, and I
Mhm.
want to convey it in a way that you also feel it. And it's not even a negative thing. I
Mhm.
mean, listen, a West Indian person could be like, I love you, and it doesn't change the
Mhm.
fact that they love
Hush,
you.
hush, hush,
Right. Hush, baby.
hush,
I
baby,
mean,
hush.
we
What does
speak,
that
like
mean?
Omar said, we
You
talk with
told
our
us that.
body. Like, yo, we put everything, like even when you cook, you put everything in the pot. Like, that's just
You
how we
want some?
are.
Eat.
But
Why
I
are you
think
so
that's
offended by that?
But I think that's the thing, though. Even like talking, like that example, perfect
Hush.
example. It's not even just about. So like, I grew up loud family, right?
Right.
But very loud, very joyful, very much. I feel from my experience and what I've been told, you could tell that people liked you and that they were happy to see you and there was positive vibes. They were
Yes.
loud, but it was loud as it was the equivalent of being loud when you're at like a fair or a festival.
Mm-hmm.
Versus sometimes in Caribbean settings, the loud is like war zone.
A
And
debate.
so yeah.
War zone.
And so I think and Omar gave the perfect example is,
Hush.
you know, he's tried early in our relationships to like comfort me.
Mm.
And the form of comfort is this like
Aggressive.
aggressive
That,
like,
Ush with a
like
U.
or top the crying, like it's fine. And I'm like, why are you being mean to me? I'm the victim in the
No, he's giving
situation.
That was love.
empathy.
Exactly.
That was so much love.
No,
So much love.
but I learned that. I learned that
love
telling
giving a hush.
that from his perspective, telling someone to hush, telling them to stop crying is actually a nurturing.
It is.
Nurturing
Never
communication.
mind.
Right,
Never
right, right.
mind.
It's
Never
nurturing
mind.
communication versus for me growing up, if I was told like shh or hush
Oh, that's a
or
Dismissive.
stop crying, it was never in like a nurturing thing.
Yeah.
Nurturing would be like, it's okay, rub on the back, soft speech, like, you know, it's okay that you're upset.
yeah.
And that's not, nurturing looks different in different cultures.
But this is actually a really good segue to like this notion of we're speaking the same language, but we're not. Like,
Yeah.
so years ago, we were at my godmother's house, and I think did she say to you, Brandon, like, lock the window? Brandon's just like, he goes over to the blinds, and I think he's like, put the windows locked. Like, I don't understand what she's asking me to do. She really meant close the blinds. I knew what she meant. He's sitting there like, like, how am I going to tell her this window's already locked? But she meant close the blinds. But, you know, have there been any other like situations where, you know, it's like the word that we stated was not actually what you interpreted it as, if that makes any sense?
I mean, lock is always a great thing because lock is to turn off everything. You lock off a pipe, you lock off
Lock
a
off
light,
the
you
light.
lock off of it.
You lock
Everything
off
is
your
locked
mouth?
off.
Lock
and
off your mouth. Lock off your mouth.
I never got that one.
Yeah.
I never got that one. But
He
definitely
likes that one.
locking
I love
off
that
the.
one.
So once I learned what the lock, the adjective, what the noun, you know, then I said, oh, okay, so it's something off, and then whatever the item is. So yeah, I just learned.
It's like lock off the fridge meant unplug the fridge. Like,
close the door, you know. So
no, it's lock the door. But we don't
lock the
literally
fridge door?
mean lock
You
it.
close You close the fridge.
No, you lock the fridge. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I see clearly.
Did you understand
How do you
that?
put a
Lock
lock?
the fridge.
How do you put a lock?
No,
on the fridge?
I would
Not
not. I would not have
I said
understood that
close.
prior
Secure
to
it.
my.
Secure
Close
it.
it.
Yeah, but it's just. Yeah.
But we say lock the fridge. Like,
Like,
I mean, I get it. I get it now.
I get it now.
But for sure, I definitely think that there were some phrases, I think on both ends, right? Like where there were things that would be said. And like, for example, a lot of times in patois, which is so interesting when, I mean, both of you are coming from, you know, from a heritage perspective, like being raised by parents who, you know, grew up in Jamaica, but then needing to adapt language to American English is very challenging when you grow up in a household where your family members don't speak American English. And so there are phrases that Omar uses and words that he uses. And I'm like, you're confusing me because that's not how you actually use
like
that
what?
word.
Give us an example.
Like let and make.
Hmm.
So instead of him saying, you know, don't let him do that, he'll say, don't make him do that. Because in patois, that's how you like,
Yeah,
like-
make him do that.
right, exactly. But he doesn't say it he says it in American English because that's how he's processed the language that he learned growing up. And so for me,
Love
growing
it.
up with American
Love it.
English, I'm like, well, no, I'm not making anybody do anything. Like, I'm like, why are you saying I'm making someone do
But you know what's so interesting as you're talking? I'm thinking about there's even layers to patois because I will tell you there are some Jamaican people that would say, I don't speak patois. I speak proper English.
Yeah.
I speak Queen's English.
Mhm.
And it's just like, okay, there's an accent. Like we didn't grow up like speaking patois per se, but like my parents have, especially my dad, like he got a legitimate accent.
Mhm.
My mom, she teeters between. She got a Miami Spanish
What they say,
Jamaican
what they
accent.
say, speaky
She's
spokey?
speaking as
Speaky
spokey.
spokey.
She's speaking
Speaky
spokey.
spokey.
Yeah,
Speaky
I don't know what
yeah,
spokey.
that means.
Shatwang.
Shatwang,
But
yeah. The
there
twang.
there are
I'm
layers to
I'm
that because
lost.
I
I'm really
guarantee you,
lost.
Omar in his head is just like, yes, the word difference it does have an impact, but it's not even like he wouldn't say that I'm speaking patois. It's like, no,
No.
I'm speaking English.
Exactly. And it confused him. So when he would be telling me like
Him, your child.
links
Oh.
Omar.
Yes.
So like he would be telling me like, "Oh, like I said don't make such and such and such." And I'm like, "Well, I'm not making anything." And he's like, "What are you talking?" Like he's looking at me like, "What? Why aren't you? I'm speaking English. Why aren't you listening to me?" And I'm like, "But if you say make someone, it means like you're forcing someone." He's like,
Yeah.
"No, it just means like you're letting people do things." And I'm like,
Yeah. My favorite one is nobody with it. And I'm like,
Okay, what did you say?
like, don't be bothered. Like,
Oh, okay.
don't
All right.
like, don't think about,
I'm
don't
sorry.
preempt it. Don't.
Sometimes you still go, and I'm like,
Do
I need the.
But honestly, I was gonna say what was really confusing for me was when I met, like your
my
dad's
extended family.
extended family, because I was like, I was confused. I was like, I'm there trying to pick up on accents and people talking to me saying
Southern
these things,
accent.
Southern accents. Yes.
Yeah, I mean specifically like, I have family like low country and
Mhm.
Can I
I
ask
think
a question?
yes.
What is low country? Because I'm hearing low country boil, low country. Can somebody explain what that means?
It's geographic, but
Go ahead.
also, associated with that geographic region, there's culture and very rich, very a culture that also carries a lot of pride. But in many ways hasn't been recognized on a I'd say historically on like a federal level, if that makes sense, if you catch what I'm putting down. And so there's a lot of, conversation now around preservation of the culture, a lot of conversation around, really trying to self-legitimize, like trying to assert and preserve and celebrate culture. And I think that there's that's a lot of progress that's been made on that front. But, a lot of what you see if you go to like, the low country areas, like for example, like Charleston, places like that.
I got a Charleston story.
Okay.
Not today though.
Well, Black Charleston. Food, language, culture, dialect, all these different things. And so, when Omar, first visited and met some of my extended family, especially I think in both cultures with elders, right? Like there's this like very strong preservation of like dialect. And we had a very funny interaction with someone that he met, and they're talking to him and he's just not responding to them. Like he's really, and I'm sitting there very confused because mind you, I grew up my whole life, in New York, but spending all of my summers like in the South. And so nothing sounded out of the ordinary to me. I couldn't hear the difference. Same way that he can't hear the difference, right?
Yes.
So I'm there, we're sitting down, we're having a conversation.
They asked me how I was doing. Apparently,
How
they
he was
asked me
doing,
what my
what he
future
was
looked like.
Yes, what he was
Wow.
studying in college, all these different things. And he's like,
Mhm.
okay.
I threw in some laughs.
Because you couldn't understand.
No,
I had no
and
idea what was happening.
Like, oh, what are you studying in college? And he's like, okay.
And Aaliyah looking back, she like,
and I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm like, I'm
she's
so
looking at me.
embarrassed.
I'm looking at her like,
He don't speak.
No, because I'm like, I brought him.
You got to chime in and give him some cues or.
But this was,
in.
but I didn't
confused.
know. I didn't know because
I
I grew
know
up.
either.
I grew up just hearing people talk that way, and
I would
I
just
never
sit there.
thought anything
I ask
of it.
anytime that happens. I just say, Alicia, what was that?
I have
Oh, no,
an
Uncle
uncle.
and-
Oh
Uncle
my
and-
gosh,
yeah,
I love
my
my
uncle.
uncle. And
Yeah.
Brandon's met him, like took him to the country.
Yeah,
Brandon's
brother.
holding on with the handkerchief over his face, like, oh God,
Sugar cane.
are we gonna make it up this mountain
Or
in
you just
Jamaica?
gotta close your eyes. That's
But
all.
every time he talks to Brandon's like,
Oh no!
But I'll
What
talk
is
to
he
him
saying?
in plain English. I'll talk to him in clear
and then Brandon
English,
gets dismissive.
and he
Like,
doesn't.
yeah, man.
But then I'll talk to him in clear English, and he doesn't know what I'm saying.
He does it because my uncle has said, "When say, can't understand him, man."
But that's the funny thing because once you know that there's that like that distinction, right?
Yeah.
Because I didn't know, but before that experience, and so I'm sitting there feeling like, oh boy, brought my boyfriend home from college, and now everyone's gonna think that
They
he
don't think he speaks.
or they're gonna think that he doesn't like them, and so that upset me because I was like, I don't want a bad impression to be made. I felt at that time like we were gonna be in a long-term relationship, and now I've brought him to meet my family, and he's just sitting there while they're trying to engage him, and
I didn't
then
think
it was
about the not liking him.
yeah,
Not liking that
no,
part.
yeah,
Because-
because he
Aaliyah,
seemed not warm.
You gotta give. You gotta. You
Well,
gotta be the
I-
translator.
well, honestly, I don't think
I
she
found
do.
I
Yeah.
didn't know at all,
I don't
and
think
so
she
he
do.
afterwards
Oh,
he
okay.
told. I said, Omar,
I said
because I started
said-
prompting him. I said, Omar, she
Not
she asked
prompted
you
me.
what you were. I was like, she asked you what you were studying in
Prompted?
college, and he goes, oh yeah, I'm studying finance, blah blah blah. And then she's like, and at one point she looked at me like, he all right?
He all right.
And
No,
and
I've
so it
heard
was till
Aaliyah on.
afterwards.
I've heard Aaliyah on full conversations
With
and
family
relatives
members.
and she has takeaways, directions, next steps, and I'm like, you got all of that from that call? It'll be a 2-minute call. All right, I'll talk to you later. I'm there looking at her like. But it was what I was going to say too, that it was so great to see that still, because in a lot of that dialect too, there was a lot of similarities with patois, and even
Interesting.
yeah. And as I started to learn more about their culture, kind of seeing with food in interaction.
Yeah,
and
there's a lot of similarities.
Yeah,
with
there
food.
are a lot.
Yeah,
there's a
there-
lot. Yeah, like even when we went to Newberry, like we had found out some family Leah has there.
Yeah, that
They
was
had
awesome.
one of her
There was like
aunts,
a tradition.
yeah, tradition of like
of
getting cinnamon bun and cheese, right?
Oh, like our Easter bunny and cheese.
Right.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, and I was,
Wow.
but you just take for granted how things are not, spread. So that was kind of
I
in
think
that.
it's I think it's very easy to forget how, you know, our larger origin
Yeah.
story, right? And the fact that we really are very much interconnected. And
Absolutely.
when we get to know a lot more about traditions and history and things like that, we see where those commonalities exist.
But you know what's so funny, if I may, your nickname. So
Well, okay. So
let me tell you though, what you said it was, I was that's not what I heard.
okay, so again, getting into dialect, right? So I mean, I have a couple of different nicknames in my family,
But you know which one I'm talking
yes,
about.
and you don't realize when something is in dialect or accent
Mhm.
or whatever it's in. You don't realize it, and so Alicia heard me referred to as one of the nicknames that I have in my family, and she had no idea what was being said,
When you said, I'm gonna tell you what I thought.
why I was being called out of my name, all of these things.
What is
And I was like, I don't really know what your concern is. I was like, all they said was X, Y, and Z. And she was like, I didn't hear any of that. It all sounded like a conglomerate of things. And I was like, no.
So that's the home. Is that what they call a home name?
Well, so
it's
that's
similar to
different
a
than
home name.
Oh,
so it's
That's her home name.
So
That's
it's
her home
different.
name.
No, it's not. And I've learned that
I'm
because
gaslighting.
of how the culture works. So we do have, like, for example, there will be circumstances where someone has like a name on their birth certificate and they become known by a whole different
Yeah.
name. But the level of intentionality around it in Caribbean culture is so interesting to me because it's not necessarily the same thing. Like, you can have an aunt whose name is, Aunt Joy or something like that,
Mhm.
and her real name is
Norma.
like Norma or something. But like they called her Joy because when she was little, she was joyful, and like that's why they call her that. But in Caribbean culture, this idea that like some people are really being intentional about giving their child a separate outdoor name and a separate home name
Outdoor.
because of bad mind and all of these other
goodness.
like things like that
Don't
blew
wear
me
out-
away.
Don't wear out your name.
Wearing out your
I
name, like
mean,
all these things. I had no
Alicia is
idea.
Lisa to every-
Yeah, so like growing
I
up,
know
I was
no
Lisa. Nobody in Miami calls me Alicia.
No one.
Like Alicia apparently
No
is like my professional New York name.
Yeah.
When I go home, I kid
And-
you not, they're
and-
like
and-
Lisa
I was
And
wondering
who
who
my
you were
family
calling.
calls is Alicia.
and his family. Because I think you were like, when I went home, they were like, oh, Lisa's like, who was Lisa? I was like, that would be me.
But we have to say the distinction that it's not the same thing as like a nickname. Like a home name is still different than, because lots of us have nicknames, but it's just like
But I guess that
A
would be my
nickname.
equivalent of
a nickname or a home name.
That would be the equivalent of
Yeah.
a nickname.
It
I would
yeah,
say.
it's the equivalent of a nickname.
It is, because that's what they identify you by.
But you know when you find these stuff out, and I hate to be like doom and gloom, you go to a funeral, and you're like, yo, who
Right.
is John? That was like Missa Foot. And like
But see, yes, and that's entirely different than someone being
Or-
named like Jonathan and you call
Yeah.
him John. Like it's
the
not
name
the
is
same. It's a
completely
whole different name.
Like, oh, her name is I don't know,
Let me stop.
Jenny.
But we call her
real
Mary.
Name, yeah, but her real name is
Call her Mary.
what? Like Mary Jenny?
It's just completely
well,
unrelated.
there was a lady that lived next door and her name was
But through
Mary,
that,
and we like it.
but
so we
through
just
that,
call
it's
her that.
true.
Yeah.
It's true love and endearment in the nickname.
It is.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
that's how you know that's your people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they call you by your home name, as you all
So
say.
that does raise some eyebrows though when you're like, yo, who
You don't know who
is
anyone's
that?
name is, to be honest.
Yeah.
It is.
That's
wild.
really what ends up happening.
But
Good segue.
just to kind of bring it back home, I mean, you talked a lot about just like you're all about empathy. You've said that several times, but when we do have these cultural communication clashes, I mean, navigating it is pretty interesting. I think for me, I have learned to like come down,
Thank you, doing a great job.
which is so hard because I'm like, what am I coming down from? But anyways, to be like,
Oh, the kissing of the teeth.
I see where I might have confused you or said something that you may have misunderstood. So it is a little bit of like,
Look at you, growth.
I know I'm
Growth.
growing.
You go, girl.
I am blossoming.
I'm proud of you.
But it does take a little bit of like reality check, like temperature check. Like you check the room and you do a pulse check and you're like, okay, pause. I hear what I said, but I'm looking at your face and you're interpreting it differently. So sometimes there is an apology that has and not apologies you did something wrong, but more of a, I'm sorry. I just realized that you understood it this way. That's not what
Well,
I
that's not
meant.
really an
And
apology.
well, I guess it's not, but it's taken the extra step to
Yes.
over
clarify.
clarify, right, what it is that you
Yeah.
meant.
And I'm proud
and-
of you when you do.
Yeah. You know what I would also say?
I love that for you.
Yeah. Brandon has a lot of pride in this, guys.
He
Proud.
does,
He's very
he
proud.
does.
But I was gonna say that a lot of times, like, I feel like I lost my train of thought.
That's all
Wow,
right.
you need a nap?
That's all
I
right.
lost my train of thought. A great point too.
Oh, it was good.
It was good. Y'all just
land it.
reminded me.
Sounds like we need.
Well, we can come back
Yeah,
to
yeah,
that.
I'll
Yeah,
come back to it.
while you
Yes.
think about it.
We're gonna play a game because y'all know we love a game. This game is called "Say It With Your Chest."
With your chest.
Yes or no.
We need the
game.
boards. I'm going for
Yes,
it.
Yeah.
get your
Mhm.
boards. Do I play too? I guess
Yes.
I can. All right, so I'm gonna ask a series of questions. They are yes or no questions, and
Okay.
so we are going to flip our boards back and forth and answer those questions. Hold on.
Okay.
All right, so let me get my yes. You were supposed to help me, Brandon.
I apologize,
You
honey.
could've written-
I'll
Wait,
make
so
it up
yours
to
is
you. I
tiny.
promise.
He was
Oh, you
expressing his
can't see my
proudness.
yes?
No.
Oh,
His
let's try.
proudness, I should say.
Oh, you dropped something.
I did. I'm gonna get it later.
Okay.
I'm just holding it like this and all.
Really bad handwriting, but okay.
But you're an artiste.
I am an artist. All right, so the first question, y'all ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Say it with your chest now.
Okay.
All right. Is it okay to be on the bed with your outside clothes?
It's a no from me, dog.
All right. I know. Listen.
But hold on,
I've grown.
let's just explain to the
I've
people what an
grown.
outside clothes is.
Is,
It's
yes,
clothes
yes.
that you wore outside of the home.
Outdoor.
Clothes that you wore
That's
outside.
not okay.
That smell like outside.
That
It's not
smell like-
okay.
yeah,
It's
that's
not
something.
okay.
I've
yeah.
grown. And then
So,
and,
so wait,
So
why
why are
do
you
you say
saying
yes?
yes?
it's okay. I'm saying it's okay.
To be on the bed in your outside clothes?
If I'm gonna add an asterisk.
explain
I'm adding an
yourself.
asterisk. If it's your top layer sheet, then yes.
Oh no. Okay.
Don't go in
Oh,
your
no.
bed
Oh, you don't-
with
not
your
the fitted
ducted
sheet.
clothes. Yeah.
Don't go
That's-
don't go under
Under
the
the
covers.
Don't go
You're
under the
saying you could
covers.
sit
You're
on top
nasty
of the
for that.
covers.
So yeah. So
Okay.
that's
Mm.
that's.
All right.
No.
All right. Moving
Note
along.
of
Moving
that.
along.
All
All
I'm
right.
just saying.
We'll take that one off.
Hey, I'll be tired.
Thank God I was sitting
It's
on
a
your
long
bed.
day. You be looking at your bed.
Well, then you also segue into this one, but can someone smell like outside? And I've heard
Where's the
Brandon say-
absolutely?
No, that is
Absolutely. You can smell like outside.
True. That is very
Yes.
Brandon, you said somebody used to tell you used to smell like outside.
true.
Wait, that's okay.
that
I
lovely
said yes.
Hempstead smell.
Not the Hempstead smell.
I know that's.
We love
my
Hempstead.
hood.
We love Hempstead.
Okay. Have you ever pretended to understand your in-laws' accent?
Okay,
No,
so
my
I'm gonna say
in-laws.
no. My
Mm-mm.
in-laws don't have
no,
an
like
accent.
like
that
I
don't.
think we should talk about in general extended family, like everyone
Yeah.
on your
Well, if it's
on your
everyone,
significant
yeah,
other's side of the
absolutely.
family.
Mm,
Anybody on your
And I'm
significant other's
sorry.
side of the family.
Well,
Omar is a yes. We
yeah.
just talked about that.
Yeah.
I got a new in-law and I don't understand sometimes. I love you. You know who I'm talking about.
Oh
I
my
don't think
God.
I've
I'm
I've
like-
never
I
done
don't know who
that.
you're talking about. So.
I was like,
There was
Uh,
one uncle I met one time and I could not understand him, and I remember saying, "I can't understand what you're saying."
to you.
No, I said that because I couldn't understand
Oh,
him, but I've never
interesting.
pretended. That's because
Yeah.
I'm neurospicy.
Sometimes it's hard though because you don't want to make the person feel bad. Like, oh, I don't know what you're saying.
I want to know what they're saying.
No, that's true too.
All right.
Okay. All right, let's go to the next question. If you go to multiple houses on Thanksgiving, do you need to eat something at each house?
No.
At each
Yes.
house?
No.
Yes.
No. Because we need to
Something-
stop. We need to stop
Yes,
putting pressure
yes.
on
By
people.
nature.
Yes.
People gonna feel
No.
bad.
No.
Yes. It is a
They're
massive faux pas in many
I know.
Southern cultures.
I'm very
to
aware.
go to someone's house where they are hosting you
I
and
haven't
not
been-
eat a thing.
I haven't been. We've been the host for the past umpteen years, which is a good thing. We'll talk about later, but I don't know about going to those.
But you
houses.
don't think to eat
No, but
every
do you
t-
have to eat something?
every
No,
time
I can take a. You can take a plate.
Okay, but then that's a
Oh,
yes.
That's a
that's
yes.
not
If you got to
yes.
take a plate,
That-
then
that
you got
whole
to
take
switch.
a
No,
plate
but then
thing,
that's a
I
yes.
get
That's not
It's
a
not
no.
a-
I'm
I didn't eat it.
repping for all the
No,
people.
but you're still you're still
who- I'm
accepting
saying it with my
something.
want to
chest.
manage their tummies, right? And
You're
they go
finding
to
a
one spot,
loophole.
and you
All
know
right,
not every
let's
spot
go
hitting.
on.
All right.
Let's go on. That whole taking a plate thing, I can't stand it. But
At
okay.
least have some tea or lemonade,
Unless-
something.
well,
take
I
a
guess-
cake. Take a
You
slice
give
of cake.
Tupperware.
I
can't
love
eat a
giving,
slice of
but I
cake.
love
Come
giving
on.
people
No.
food to take home because I
But
want
how do
people
you
to
not
be
think-
happy.
People don't
Rude.
have a.
All
Go
of you.
ahead. Go ahead.
Except
I'm
Alicia.
listening.
All right, all
Go
right.
ahead.
Next question: is it okay to sweep while guests are at your house?
Okay,
So
I've
rude.
learned no
It's
in
so rude.
in your culture. So at my house, I will not
So
do it
rude.
because of your culture.
So
However, growing up, this was not an issue. Like no one ever thought anything of it.
Oh, I feel like number 6 is kind of shady.
It's shady. Wait, what is it?
All right, let's go to the next question.
Oh.
I know what you said, but are you actually 15 minutes away?
I
No.
set the time. I set the time.
No.
No.
I share
No.
my.
If
I
you're
share my.
No.
We know that's not
You
true.
share your ETA,
ETA.
30 minutes after you're supposed to be
No,
somewhere.
I share my ETA to communicate
Ain't that
effectively.
happened today?
That-
To effectively communicate, and you'll
That's
know
why I
where
said
to
it was
go.
shady.
Communication
See,
effectively.
Okay.
Really, the Rays don't
It's
really
not
need to talk
okay.
about this though because
You better keep our
Cool.
names out your mouth.
I'm just saying.
Cool.
I'm just saying.
Cool.
I'm just saying.
One Ray
When
can
the
talk
Powells
about
had
it.
to come to the Ray house and it was like, oh, we got food. We was there 7:25. The
Yeah,
food's
y'all
gonna be there
was.
7:30.
7:30.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, y'all were there for the
I'm
snack.
just saying.
yeah,
Well,
but
you
Omar
know.
has a strong habit of saying 15 minutes,
Ooh.
and it's not
Mm.
15 minutes.
It's not.
I say I shared my ETA. You'll
All
see.
right, next question. Do you agree that it is better to arrive late than empty-handed?
I do. I do. If I'm going to someone's house, if I'm being hosted, or if there's something like that, like I feel uncomfortable. I'd rather show up a couple minutes late, but like be like, and if I know I'm gonna be late, I call and ask if anybody needs anything.
I agree.
So I can say I went to the
I'm
store.
gonna change
flip
my
my
yeah.
board. Yeah.
That made me
honest.
change
I don't
my
like to go to people's houses empty-handed.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd rather be late with some in my hand than on
Yeah.
time and not have.
Even
I
if
don't
it's a
think it,
candy
and I
bar.
don't think it's a requirement. I think as far I think
being
it's
thoughtful.
yeah,
It's a
just being
comfort
thoughtful.
thing.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
comfort
yeah,
thing
yeah.
for me.
It is
feel
a
more
thoughtful
comfortable.
thing. So
Yeah.
we're all on the same page with that. Yeah. All right. So next question. Where at your family reunion do you know how you are related to everyone? Yeah,
No.
I-
so-
Unfortunately, I did not experience a family reunion like from my side of the family, but I assume I would say no.
I mean, I've experienced Brandon's family reunions. They are a time, and I'd be like, "Who that? Who? I don't." And
I
I'll just
might
be
have
like,
a general sense
I'm
of
gonna be-
who's probably in the cousin category, who's probably in a great auntie uncle
Mm.
category.
Yeah.
But in terms of how,
let's do a rapid fire with these last two.
okay.
Can tea solve everything?
No,
Yes.
it cannot.
Yes.
If you break your leg, no amount of tea will fix your leg.
Tea
Yes, it
can
will.
solve everything. Mint
Tea
tea,
nor
It's
ginger
Robitussin.
gonna release the inflammation.
Yes, and
Your stress level.
yes.
That's
What's
part of your
the next
healing.
one?
Done.
All right, last one. Do you agree that talking passionately and yelling are the same thing? No. talking passionately is talking. Yelling is yelling.
I'm gonna say no just because.
Is that how you really feel?
Sure.
Be honest.
That's okay. That's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think it's the same.
It's not the same. All right. Well, this was fun.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Thank you for joining another episode of Callaloo and Collard Greens, and we're out.
We're out.
Thanks for joining us as we celebrate love, family, and legacy across cultures.
There's always a seat for you at our table, so remember to like, share, subscribe, and give us your thoughts as we want to hear your stories.
Spreading joy, sending love. Thanks for joining us on the Callaloo and Collard Greens podcast.